Evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us here in the baseball lounge at Pride Park Stadium. Thank you for giving up your Tuesday night to be with us as well. I'm aware there is other football happening, but this is far more important, and I'm sure you'll agree. It's been a while since we were able to invite you all here to a fans forum. We hope you'll find tonight entertaining, informative, maybe a little bit reassuring as well, but we hope you get out of it exactly what you want. There will be opportunity for questions from the floor at various points throughout the evening. Quick housekeeping note. Can we ask that there's no filming tonight? We do have cameras on it. The wonderful team from RamsTV are at the back of the room looking very awkward, as I mentioned them, if you'd like to all turn around and look. We will be putting it all out in full tomorrow. I think we're aiming for 6 o'clock, but just so that we can make sure that things aren't taken out of context and that it's available for all supporters to see at the same time. We'd just like to ask that we do the filming and you guys don't. Pictures are fine, and I'm sure there'll be a chance to get pictures with people after as well if you want to. The evening will be in 2 parts, as I'm sure everybody knows. Later we'll be joined by Martyn, Waghorn and Conor Hourihane as well. But as you can see, our first guests are already on stage. Derby County Chief Executive Officer Stephen Pearce and men's head coach Paul Warne as well. Let's have a warm welcome for them, please. Can I hear that? We'll try and get the volume on that TV turned down, please, technical team. Well, I'll tell you what, in that case, then, I'll talk to Stephen first. And is that okay, Paul? Okay. We have had some questions in advance, which we will get to, and later, as I say, we will open things out to the floor. But Stephen, I will start with you. This is the first opportunity that you've had to speak to supporters in this setting since administration, since the takeover. I know people have wondered when you would speak, so why have you waited until now?
Well, I think it was really important to do it in this type of forum for me personally, because rather than doing it in a controlled environment through an interview, whether that be radio or internally, I think it was quite important. I think in terms of timescale as well, and waiting till now, in David's sort of first open letter, he talked about actions speaking louder than words. So I think hopefully having some time under our belts now under the new ownership has given that opportunity to it to be about actions and not just words, whereas if I'd have come out and said something fairly early on, quite clearly it would have just been words and could have been taken as meaningless. So I think it was really important to do it in this forum tonight.
You stayed in post throughout administration. Can you just give us an insight into that time for you and for the football club?
Well, I think it was clear for everybody to see, you know, we never want to go back there again. It was the most difficult period in the club's history. And I think it's clear to see that the administrators were in. They were appointed by the courts to be the official owners, if you like, of the football club during that period. They were here to sell the club, to look after it and sort of stabilise it from that perspective. But I think it's really important to note that during that time, all of the staff and we as a staff were sort of still running the day-to-day operations, if you like, of the football club. And had it not have been for all the staff and everything that people pulled together in the same manner as all the supporters and the fans did to get us through, we definitely, well, I don't think we would have been here.
There were a lot of loose ends financially at the end of the process. Lots of numbers were thrown around, particularly in regard to HMRC. I know, I assume you can't give us specifics, but how accurate were the sort of numbers that have been out there and that a lot of people might have seen on social media and things like that?
Well, there's been lots and lots of speculation, lots of reports over the last 12 months plus, to be fair, in terms of financials and figures. All I can say is that it's really hard for people to speculate on that. Look, I can't go into details of that due to confidentiality, both the administrators, previous owner, etc. However, all I can say is that you know, they weren't accurate. I think it's fair to say that what David and Cloud's developments paid for this football club was above and beyond what anybody else that was interested, to my knowledge, would even go near and would actually pay. So, and creditors were paid, you know, more than they were originally due. So, it was very much a good thing from David.
And just on David, who I think we're expecting at some point tonight. There he is. He's arrived. Look at that for timing.
We hadn't spotted you then, I promise.
This might make your answer to the next question a little different now, but your relationship with David, how did that develop in the first instance? Because I don't think you knew him prior to him sort of getting involved.
No, I didn't. I'd met him once at a Martyn Derby event many years ago, but a very, very brief conversation, so didn't know him. And first off, I'd like to say, a massive thank you for the comments that David made in a recent interview, and the confidence he's put and the backing he's given to me and the rest of the staff of the football club has been amazing. So thank you very much. In terms of the first time I'm meeting David, I think really it started when the Chris Kirchner deal was going through, or potentially going through, because David was, or Clouds Developments were looking to buy the stadium as a stadium purchase. So I'd already sort of started working with David's advisors and legal advisors. So when that deal didn't take place, it was very easy for us to pick everything up and continue to build that relationship, and that's why we managed to get the deal done within 10 days of making the decision to actually move forward and purchase the football club, which was phenomenal given the timescales and what we were up against to get everything finished. So that was when I sort of first got involved with David and started to build the relationship.
We'll come back to you later, and as I say, people have opportunity to ask questions a little later on. Are you happy with the audio now, Paul? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, good. Is your mic on?
On? Oh, that's better, isn't it? Just.
Can you believe, Paul, it's almost a year since you arrived? Does it feel like it?
It's a good question. Evening, by the way, everyone. Thank you for your warm applause when we came up. It's gone really quick and really slow. I know it's a really obvious answer to give, but it has gone fast. But probably the improvements probably haven't gone fast enough for me. That's the honest truth. And by the way, anyone in the audience can ask me any question. I will give you my absolute honest answer. You might not agree with it, and I appreciate some people in the room don't agree with everything I do. Yeah, so I think the year's gone quite quick. I think we've had really good developments behind the scenes that, not everyone's privy to. And we're trying to build a squad that can compete. We obviously had to let a few players go to the obvious finance of football, but you have to let people go to get people in. And we tried to rejig the squad because I thought the squad was put together really well, and I've said this from day one. I'm not disingenuous in that respect. I thought the squad was put together really well, but it was a team of Galacticos, really. So we didn't have any right-backs in the building. We didn't have a lot of choices up top. So fortunately, with David's support on that, this summer we've brought in 2 right-backs. Ironically, four right-backs I've got in the building are all long-term out, so that's a problem. Which is disappointing for us when we try and pick the team and how we want to play with wing-backs, so that's a problem. But we brought in some more legs at the top of the pitch. We've recently brought some in the middle, tried to bring some old-fashioned centre-halves, probably the best way to put it, at the back. Brought Josh Vickers in. So collectively, this summer, I think we've prepared ourselves really well, but we've just been a bit hit with a few injuries, really. But I've gone way off type, I know. But the year has gone really quick. We've really enjoyed it, but I hope you'd be pleased to know we haven't come here to finish 7th. So last year was a bit of a blow for us. At no point did I think we wouldn't get into the playoffs. And then, disappointing what happened at Sheffield Wednesday. And then you then look back at the games where you think, oh, that penalty at Bristol Rovers and this and that. And it's not excuses. It's just that we didn't pick up enough points. And maybe we just weren't good enough. But hopefully, with the work we've done this season, and hopefully when we get a few more players back, you lot can enjoy watching your team at home, especially, and not be so nervous in the last 15 minutes with the rest of us, and enjoy watching the team play the way we want them to play.
Have you got your head round the scale of the place now? Because I remember on your first day when you walked in the bistro at Moor Farm and saw the number of people, there are a lot of people.
There are a lot of people. I mean, I saw 5 people at dinner today that I've never seen in my life. So there are a lot of people. It is a club on a massive scale. I mean, I've been told today there's virtually 30,000 coming here Saturday. So, but fundamentally, my job's still the same. I look after the 22, 23 players. I try and empower my staff to get the best out of the players. I try and have a culture that the players want to be part of and be successful. So everything else, there's a lot of academy at the training ground. In fairness, it feels at times 80% academy, 20% first team, because there's obviously loads of different age groups. And it is a massive thing. I mean, I went on the record to say the first thing we did, and probably the best thing I did, was get the coffee machine back on. I got told today that in the year since I've been here, we've had 77,000 coffees out of it. In fairness to me, I'm only responsible for about 17,000 of them. But so the scale is massive. You know, the things that are going on behind this, not behind the scenes, I know you know it, but at the academy and the change, what's happened at the academy, and obviously during the admin, which is a sad thing for the football club, a lot of the best players got stolen really for next to no money, through no fault of anyone here. But so all the work going for the academy to get the players through to help the first team is going to take 2 to 3 years, and everything, you know, I know fans want to see their team win every week, no different to me, but there is loads of people, really hard-working people at the football club. And obviously throughout my career, I've worked at different football clubs as a player, as a coach, and everyone who works here is a Derby fan. I know that sounds like, well, why wouldn't you be? But I'm telling you, a lot of football clubs, they are not. So even the chefs, the ground staff, everybody at the football club's a Derby fan, and it makes it feel massive, but also quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Not loving, but small, if that makes sense. So, like, you know, when I speak to you, when I speak to Tom, when I speak to the ground staff, when I speak to Phil, when I speak to the physios, you know, everybody at the football club's pulling in the right direction. So, you know, if nothing else you get from this and you think I'm a Wally, if nothing else, you should think that everybody at the football club are doing everything they can to get you a successful team.
And that's why I think it was so easy when you look around the pillars around the room here and you look at the values that have come out recently. That's why it was so easy for that to sort of be embedded, because it is how all the staff and everybody lives it on a day-to-day basis, and they weren't just words, it is genuinely how it is.
You've got some questions about the academy coming up later, just so you know.
I have?
Yes, you have.
Oh, okay. As long as it ain't faces up there and I've got to guess who they are, because I've absolutely got nixie chance of that happening.
Let's get to the advanced questions before we open it to the floor. Stephen, for you first, please could you give fans an approximate idea of how much the current EFL restrictions in relation to the agreed business plan are impacting on normal player recruitment in both terms of transfer fees payable and wage structure?
So I think this season the answer is they're not. We presented and produced our business plan that we then put forward to the EFL, and they signed it off. So it was our plan, our budget, and as a collective, from a football perspective, a commercial perspective, and operational. So it was what we wanted to do. So from a restrictions perspective, there really isn't anything now from that side.
And just to follow up on that, how is the relationship with the EFL now? Because I think it wasn't great at times. Fair to say?
Yeah, fair to say. But however, it's completely night and day. The EFL now, I think they've actually been on record, and we make a big thing when we go to away clubs, and when clubs come visiting here to the directors, and Owen, you know, you come up and do the welcomes to speak to everybody. We make a big thing of wanting people to get to know us as a football club, and I think it's made massive strides. So we are definitely down their list of pecking order of being on their radar.
Good to hear. Advanced questions for Paul, and there are 3, and they are all on a similar vein. First, since David Clowes continues to act on his pledge to continue the good work with the academy, what are you doing to ensure the pathway to the first team is still there for all of the youngsters coming through?
The reason why I'm laughing is because I thought I'd have been prompted on these questions. In fairness, this afternoon, well, we're trying to do everything we can. Look, the players that we can get through the academy, from my selfish point of view as a football manager, and this isn't a politically correct answer, it's the truth, the more players that we can get through the academy into the first team, the more money I have to spend on others. And I know that sounds an awful thing to say, but it's the truth. So if I can get another striker through the academy in the next year to come and play in the first team, and I want to play with 4 in the squad, then I can use my budget instead of on 4, on 3, and I can get a better quality of player. In regards to the pathways, we have a lot of meetings at this club, don't we? A lot of meetings. But there is like different levels of meetings. But at the moment, we're now talking about where we're sending them out on loan. There's a meeting every week on that, where we think the players are. I speak to Bucko a lot. I speak to Bucko every day. Today, we've been watching the second string beat Lincoln 4-2. If I got the score wrong, that is a disaster, but I think it was 4-2. 5-2. Who said 5?
Disaster.
You can have a free drink. Well done. That was a test. You lot have failed. Get out.
Who scored?
Get out. Well, that's a good question. Elliot scored the first one. Yeah. Dage got one and a hat-trick. Hat-trick. He was excellent when he came on, by the way. So anyway, so we're at that game, and obviously we've got a home game on Saturday, then we've got a Papa John game on Tuesday, which I will try and bring some of them players in. Tuesday night's a great game for us because the Kane Wilsons are coming back, the Tom Barkhausens are coming back, which is great, so we can get them on the pitch, and if I can get Dage playing and like a proliferation of academy players within the squad, then great. So in regards to pathways being open, they're always open. I've always brought young players through at clubs I've been. And if they're brought in and they're trying to play the way we want them to play, there's a real good opportunity. And why wouldn't there be? Every team in the world needs a strong academy, and we're no different.
2 more to come, but I think you just wanted to add something, Stephen, on that?
Yeah, and I think David's gone on record and said he's absolutely committed to a Category Academy. It's massively important to us as a club. But I think it's a rebuild as well in the academy, as we said. I've spoke to people previously, and we know sort of where the under-21s were last season. But it's so expensive to go out and recruit a whole squad of under-21s. It's probably more expensive transfer fee-wise than it would be to put a first-team squad together nowadays. So you've got to almost do it back from that under-15 levels up. So that's why Paul was making the reference to it maybe, 18 months to 3 years. And I think it's key for us that we're now focusing on that pathway. And that's why from Matt Hale, Craig Fleming coming in with Rick to work with Rich Astle, it's key that we've got to identify and do those progress and succession plans for the academy.
Next question for you, Paul. You've answered it, but we said we would ask anything that came through, so okay. I'm asking it. Do you and your first team staff watch any under-21 or under-18s games?
If I'd like to refer to my first answer, yeah, we do. The only thing I haven't done yet, and you can boo me, I haven't gone to a women's game yet on a Sunday. Thank you. So I honestly haven't done that yet, and I do intend to. It's just the fact that as a Sunday, I do like to spend some time with my family. But yeah, we do watch the games. We do have, as you well know, because even more so at the moment because we have a small squad, we do have a lot of under-21s training with us all the time. They're in the building with us all the time. So I get Bucko mainly, because I know him really well, to talk me through all the under-21s and under-18 goals, who's doing well, who he thinks doing well, why he thinks they're doing well, because I don't want him to, push a player through that has no attributes that I want. I need to see players who want to play the way I want to play. So yeah, I do watch as many games as I can. Obviously, they play a lot of times Saturday morning prior to us coming down here, so we try and watch the first half before we come down to Pride Park for a home game.
And last one on the theme, due to you admitting that the squad suffered from burnout last season, do you regret not using the academy and some of our younger players more than you did?
No, I definitely don't. I regret the fact that I didn't really use the January window well enough. That's the honest truth. That's on me. Like, I've made loads of mistakes and I'll continue to make loads of mistakes, but that's on me. I don't think I strengthened. I didn't find anyone who was better than what we had at the time. And I wasn't just going to sign someone to make numbers up. I'll only try and sign people who I think are going to come and play and dislodge the team. However, the team were on fire at that time last year. And I think I do trust my players a lot. I do. So I found it difficult well, not difficult, I just couldn't replace what I thought was better. In regards to the academy, at the time, there wasn't any academy players in the under-21s, under-18s who were strong enough to come in. So, in fairness, I have a duty of care as well as winning games. I have to look after these lads' careers. If I was to put a 17-year-old, 18, 19-year-old onto the pitch who is nowhere near good enough to play, I am just sending a lamb to the slaughter, and I won't do that. And in fact, and I know because I've seen it happen with other kids at other clubs, where that one experience can ruin them, like literally ruin them. So if they're not ready, if they're not training with us regularly, if they don't perform regularly in training, that we come off as coaches, because, I mean, you'll hear my players later, obviously, they'll come on after me and try and be funnier. But when we go back into the office straight away with my 3 coaches, the first thing we always do after training every day is write winners and losers. Who looked great in training today? Who should be a part Saturday, if not? Who did we think was looking good but now has faded off? It's the same with the academy players join in. If they come and join in and they want a shirt, they have to win a shirt. They don't just get it by default. So they have to outperform the pros in training. And honestly, last season, I can't say there was anyone who outperformed the pros. Like young Robbo's a really good player. And I mean this in the nicest possible sense. He played against Chesterfield pre-season. We played half a game. He struggled a little bit. The levels are considerably more as you get into men's football. So I just don't think there was anyone. If there was, I would have used them quite obviously, because we did have a bit of fatigue and burnout. That is for sure. So that part's on me. But I don't think there was anyone in the academy that I could have trusted.
We'll go to the floor in just a second. Before we do, Stephen, that's a fine, isn't it, Paul? Just before we do, Stephen, just following on from the question about the academy, and I know this is something that people have talked about, can you just give us some clarity on, I guess, the football structure? Because there's been appointments made recently at the academy and performance side, and obviously Paul has been in place for about a year now. So can you just take us through it all?
Yes, so the way we operate on the football side is we have effectively what we call the football exec, which is made up of, obviously, Paul. You've got head of medical, head of recruitment, head of performance, head of academy. And essentially what we wanted to make sure was that you've got people with the relevant expertise in the effective different areas. And that's why when Paul says we have weekly meetings and we go through stuff, it's not all just one person's decision. It's got to be done as a collective. Obviously, ultimately, you have to sign off in terms of the players that are signed, but it's absolutely a collective in terms of how we come to those decisions, or whether it's from a medical perspective or a performance side of things. So we didn't want to operate in just one person having the ultimate control, and we wanted to make sure we've got that expertise, and I think that was key. And the other key thing for us as well was around, it's about the individuals. It's about the people. It's not about one person's agenda. It's about, you know, the collective of everybody coming in and wanting to know, right, this is where we are, this is where we want to get to, and how do we get that strategy in place and that business plan to make sure that we can try and achieve what we want to achieve.
And at a micro level, in fairness, it might just be the fact that, look, out of possession, I want the ball back as soon as I possibly can get it back. I want to press. I want the team to be fit. I want to get the ball back. I want to keep it, but we have their meetings, and obviously we discuss with the academy staff and that, like, how does that look? How do sessions look? How does that look over the course of the season? You know, how do we tweak training? Do we all agree this is how? So there's loads of that, as well as even simple things like, you know, the canteen. You know, who should sit there and that. So there are some crazy meetings, but generally we're there to try and improve the club, so we all move together. So, you know, the young lads can see a route through the first team, but there has to be certain boxes ticked along the way.
I think it is time to open things out to the floor. We have a microphone which will be moving around. If you have a question, stick your hand up. Come this way, microphone, wherever you are. Where is the microphone? Over there. Come this way, down to the front. When the microphone gets to you, just give us your name before you ask your question. Just Paul likes to know names of people. So, right. So hands up, nice and tall, and Soap will find you and hand you the microphone, and then you can hand it back. And we will do our best to get around as many people as we possibly can in the next 35 minutes. Yes, sir. What's your name? What's your question?
My name's Tom. So with only 32% of our first team squad that are classed as foreign players, and with one of the league lowest in averages, do you feel like that's untapped potential when you look at a club like Brighton who successfully bring young players across?
Wow, that's a good question, by the way. Well, prior to the admin, I think you used to sign many foreign players at this football club because I see them strewn around the tunnel and everything. I do think it's an untapped reservoir, so to speak. There are some really good players abroad. However, it has changed recently, as in the criteria about, are they international players and things like that. So you have to tick a lot of boxes. Obviously, if Brighton are signing a player from Slovenia, say, there's a good chance he's a full international or in his age group. Whereas currently we are tier 3, so it's a little bit harder to attract. But we did have a debrief of this transfer window, and we do think that is something that we have to get into. However, in the nicest possible sense, look, a year ago, 18 months ago, whatever, the club was capiche, and we're now trying to get everything going. So like the recruitment department, when I first come in, was like one person. There's now 6 people in it. But then as soon as you want to sign international players, which I agree, by the way, I love international players. I love Austrians. I love Germans. That sounds a bit wrong, but you need people, and this all comes at a cost on top of cost. But I do agree that if you could tap in, we do have different softwares now to help us determine a player. So, for example, if I wanted to sign, and I can say this because Conor's in the room, if I wanted to sign exactly the same as Conor Hourihane throughout Europe, I could put in, I would be able to get his stats up, what he looks like as a player, and I could hunt down that player as similar as I could. So there are things that we're trying to help us with to get them players. And I agree with what you're saying about Brighton. It's the same as Brentford. Like Brentford have more than 100 full-time staff in their recruitment department because the owner he owns a gambling firm as well. So he has all these statisticians that work for both parties. Now, if we had 100 full-time staff recruiting, it would be a lot easier. So in answer to your question, yeah, definitely. I definitely like young players, young athletes as well. So that is something that we need to tap into. The English market is very expensive. Like, we haven't signed a player for money this summer. And there's players, for example, and I know because I once had him, and I had someone in the car park ask me if I was signing Clark Harris a few weeks ago. And Clark Harris was going for over £1 million in the end, and he's over 30. There's no resale value. It's £1 million you're throwing away. And in fairness, I'm not trying to quash people's dreams here, but if you're going to have a healthy, forward-thinking football club, buying over 30s for over £1 million isn't the way to go. Buying young players from abroad is. Looking in the non-league market still is. There can't be a snobbery about levels of football. And just getting the best players in. So in a very long answer, yeah, it's a good question, and we will definitely try and expand because there isn't enough good players that are currently available to us, I don't think.
Stephen, do you want to add anything? Or?
Yeah, I think absolutely it makes it more difficult for us because of the point system, but as well, we're looking at how we are. Last year was about the stability and getting that side of the football club sorted. It's now how we're trying to move on and progress.
Paul's bored.
Yeah, he's bored now. So it's how we progress now, and I think that is where we're saying at the moment, we didn't spend transfer fees because we couldn't or because we didn't want to. It was just the fact of the players that we were looking at, we didn't need to. So it's then looking into the future to go, right, the next phase of it's the progression moving into the championship and then stability in the championship. You'll need different players, and we need to make sure that we balance the squad to make sure that you haven't got too much overhang as you progress through those different layers and the different levels.
Thank you for the question. Hands up for the next one, and the microphone will get to you. Your choice. Where do you want to go?
Ooh, the jeopardy of it all. Front row, you deserve it, mate. You deserve it.
No comment. Name's Stefan. Obviously, last year it seemed when you came in that the Papa John's was irrelevant. Do you have any desire to win it this year?
Okay, a good question. I have. If you know me, and my players might tell you, I hate losing at everything. So when you say I had no interest in it, what makes you say that? Not so much relevant, but the legals are more the priority. Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I like to win every single game. Like, I'm a really bad loser. If you ever see my post-match, even sometimes if I win and I don't think we've played well, I don't look that happy. I didn't intend to come out of the Papa John's, although I wasn't devastated. That's the honest truth. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, I apologise for that. It wasn't supposed to be all yours. We had a few young lads play. I remember the right back got absolutely rinsed by the quickest man on the planet, which doesn't help. But we never set up not to win. We always try and win every single game because I well know if I lose on Saturday and then I lose Tuesday night, like, I have to keep the dressing room believing in our messaging. So I never actively put a team out not to win. And I never try and, I only like, so for example, I could tell you now, which ain't great news because I'm playing Lincoln and I've seen them today already, but the team I play Tuesday night will still be a team that I expect to win, but I'll have to tweak it a little bit because I can't play my same player Saturday, Tuesday. So I mean, you know I've won the Papas before. You do know that, don't you? Yeah. So, no, but I mean that, I don't look down at the Papas because I'm at Derby County. I think if you can get to Wembley, get to Wembley. And I was only saying to the two players out there a little while ago, if you get through the group stages, it's only a hop and a skip and you're there. So I would like to get there. It's a good day out, if nothing else. And in fairness, what it does do and what a good cup run does, whichever cup it is, it enables me, selfishly, I know, but to keep the group happy. So if, for example, Tom Barkhausen needs minutes, I can use him Tuesday night. If he doesn't get back in the team, he's got another opportunity in the next cup game, So I do, so I am actively trying to win it. I appreciate you asking me that in front of my boss because he's already told me that I have to win it. So hopefully you'll see performances that would merit us to get there. Thank you.
Next question, hands up, and the microphone will come your way.
Do you want to win the FA Cup? Yes, I do. Thanks for asking.
We should have thought about some music to fill the gap.
My name is Hudson.
Pleased to meet you.
Thanks. What's the best Derby game you've ever managed?
Yeah, that is a very good question, by the way. You're not aware of my age and how my memory isn't as great as it should be. Cool. I think, in fairness, my favourite game was probably Port Vale away. I loved it. I loved it for many reasons. One, because I thought we displayed a different side to what I'd seen before. We were a little bit grittier. We were going to the end, never give up sort of mentality. So I really liked that. I buzzed off. In fairness, I've watched it a few times because your commentary for change was really good.
Thanks, Paul.
That was good, wasn't it?
That.
Hang on, what was it?
Thanks
Relentless. I remember it. Even my mum watched it. So it was probably that game and the excitement of scoring late on. In fairness, the one what nearly came close, and you aren't going to agree, but you might when I give you a bit of background. So Bolton away at the weekend, I know we lost 2-1, right? So I've had a referee's report in. Can I say this on...
Depends what you're going to say.
Well, so I argued about a few decisions, right? So the reports come back. They agree that theirs wasn't a penalty. It wasn't a sending off. We should have had another penalty. The penalty that we got, it should have been allowed to play on and be a goal. Roon should have been allowed to get off the pitch properly before the restart of play, right? So, in my opinion, against a team that are going to be in the top 6, and we played with 10 men for about 35 minutes, and it's the smallest and if only that ball right at the end would have got to JJ in the middle of the 6-yard box and he'd have scored, I would have Mourinho'd right up down that touchline. Because sometimes as a manager, you feel that lads are giving you everything they've got. You're really proud of their efforts. And I know a draw isn't exciting as a 5-0 win, but from a manager it is, because you need the lads when things are going against them, and you see the character of the lads. And I just think they deserved a draw for their performance. So in fairness, for this year, it would have been Bolton. I know I haven't got as many highlights to pick from yet. But last year, yeah, definitely Port Vale away. I thought when I left there, my life was sorted. My hair was going to grow back. I was going to be 3 inches taller. It just felt like one of them games. So thanks for your question, mate. And well done for being so polite, by the way. Well done.
Next question, put the hands up and we'll get the microphone to you.
How do you motivate the boys on the back of a loss?
Wow, that's a good question. What's your name?
Charlie.
Charlie. How would, if you played for me and you lost, how would you want me to motivate you? Ah, he needs the mic back, needs the mic back. Me and Charlie are having a special time here. How would you want me to motivate you?
Maybe compliment the good things and maybe some of the bad things.
Wow, this is a good answer, by the way. Very good answer. Right, so if I don't win the Papa John's, right, and when you next come in and my space isn't taken, you knock on the door and tell them you should be the manager, all right, mate? I mean, in fairness, you can ask my players when they come up, because when they come up, I'm going to be out of the room, so they can be honest, they can say exactly as it is. I don't want them to sugarcoat anything I do. But in fairness, I try and keep consistent, no matter if we win or we lose. So if we win, I don't go cock-a-hoop and do a skip. And if we lose, I don't get too low. I have to try and keep the staff up, because no one likes losing a football ground, training ground. But what I always do on the Monday, I always do the good and the bad on a video. So I show them things that I really liked, and they might be things that other players haven't seen. So for example, I can say this because Waggy's in the room. There was a game the other day at Peterborough. He was on the top line of the pitch and he ran all the way back to defend in his own 6-yard box. And I highlighted him and said, look, lads, this is amazing. This is what we want from the team. However, he got in the blinking way and it went out for a corner. But that's by the by, isn't it? It's by the by, right? So we try and show him really good things, but then we show him like the things that we need to improve on. So my pet hate, as the lads might tell you, is throw-ins. Drive me insane. Out of possession throw-ins, you've got to get the ball back as quickly as you can, and sometimes we're a bit loose. In possession throw-ins, we sometimes disregard the importance. So I keep trying to show them that trends can be friends, really. So if they're positive, but if they're negative, that we need to address it. So I always try and be, I never try and be moody or anything. I always try and talk to them respectfully. So that's sort of how I try and do it. And also, and I know we all live in the moment, so every football manager, player, supporter, at 5 o'clock if you lose, the wait is disgusting. Saturday night is horrendous. If you live with me on a Saturday night, it is deplorable. But there's always the next game. There's always the next game. So look, you didn't win Saturday. Okay, it's disappointing. We come in Monday, we talk about it. How can we improve? Right, we have another opportunity on Tuesday to try and win. Right, didn't go great again. How can we change it for Saturday? So the good thing with football, although at times it feels brutal, it's such a long season. There's so many games that we try and keep consistent with the messaging. When I leave, the lads come up and say the gaffer's full of toots, then I'm in trouble. But that's how I think I come across and how I try and motivate them, and I try and be happy around the place, and I try and speak to them, and I try and engage in their lives, and I try and find out things. Like, for example, a good example of how I know things, it's Colo's daughter's birthday today, right? And I know Colo loves playing golf. So he's desperate to play golf tomorrow. So he's going to be super dad tonight, like even do the washing up and everything, just because he wants to play golf tomorrow. So I try and find out as many little details as I can, and I try and be consistent. So if the team win or lose, no one wants to lose. No one. No player wants to play bad. No one. So I try and keep consistent and have a culture that enables them to make mistakes, but try and learn from them, if that's a good enough answer. Okay, thanks for the question.
Thank you very much. Hands up, and we will get the microphone to someone else.
Oh, England are 2 up. See who the Scots are. Where are they?
What's your name? What's your question?
Hello, my name's Ryan.
Can't see him. Where am I looking? Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry.
I'm hidden behind this guy's head. Don't worry about it. So, do you believe that Martyn Waghorn was an absolute snip at 0 mil?
Have you teed him up, Waggy?
I'll have that tenner later, thank you.
Yeah, the left side of his body's really good. In fairness, and this is the truth, and this shows how obviously mistakes get made, his agent reached out to me early off-season, and I can say this because I've said it to Waggy already. I didn't want to sign him, and everyone's like, I didn't want to sign him, not because of his ability or anything, I just didn't want to sort of go down the route of bringing old players back if I could help it. That's the honest truth. However, and I've said this to him as well, and I think I've said this publicly, when he came in for Fozzie's testimony, by the way, I love Foz, I don't know if that's on the record, but when he came in for Fozzie's testimonial with the other players, I really liked him. I liked him in the dressing room. I liked how he spoke to people. I liked the fact he always smiles. And I know this sounds ridiculous for a football manager, but they're people. These are the people I spend my life with for the next 10 months, literally. I really liked him. I liked it when he came on. I thought he had an impact in the game. I know it was a testimonial, but all the same. And then I just invited him, and he can tell you, I invited him after. I went home, thought about it Sunday, spoke to my coaches and said, look, tell me if you think I've been drinking. But I think we should allow Waggy to come and train with us to help him find a club, because I like to think that a football club is always respectful to their old players, always. And this club is very good at that. So I said, look, while he's here, lives in Derby, I think we should allow him to train. If he does really well and shows us stuff that we like, then there might be an opportunity to give him something. And if there isn't, and we can help him get fit, and he goes and has his career somewhere else, great. He was really good in training, really good in games, really cheap.
Well, to be fair, because you let him train for a week, he cost us more than if you decided him straight away.
His I mean, you're right. His negotiation skills were atrocious. So I really enjoyed signing him. He's one of my cheapest signings. He's been brilliant. But in fairness, and it is a bit of the old iceberg classic, like you only see that part of him. Like the bigger part of him is like how he is around the dressing room, how he is with the lads on the training pitch, how he drives standards. Like I sort of fell in love with him when he hammered one of the players for making 3 mistakes in a passing drill. You need them players in your group to increase standards. It can't just be the coaches keep saying, look, come on, concentrate, concentrate. Has more power from the players. So, like, Waggy's been brilliant. So it's a good question, and I'm really glad he's joined the party. So thank you very much.
Next question.
This is probably for more Stephen than Paul, but I've just got to mention it. I hate to say the C word, but had cashing gone on transfer deadline day...
Phew. I thought you were going to say what everyone else was thinking.
Family show.
Sorry. Had cash-in had gone on transfer deadline day for the rumoured money that he was supposedly gone, and I know Paul says, you know, don't believe Twitter, don't believe the rumours and whatever, but had cash-in gone on deadline day for the suspected amount of money that was going, how much of that money would have been invested in the squad? Because I know that obviously Jason Knights was invested in the club. How much of that amount of money from suspected cash-in going would have been put back into the squad?
So this is a really good question. I think it's a good example of the kind of decisions that David, the board, us as a football exec are making now. And with the cashing deal, look, it didn't happen. And I guess one of the reasons that it didn't happen is, A, it didn't quite get to the valuation until the very end. But B, we'd always said from day one, and David backed this and proves that he's not making decisions that will affect the football club, and impact the potential of our season. Unless we could have kept him on loan, there was no way it was going to happen. So that was part of the deal. It would only ever happen if we got to the valuation, and as Paul said, as we've said, unfortunately, every player's got a price and that you can't turn down. But unless you can replace and reinvest, or they stay on loan to make sure that they help. It was never going to happen, and I think that was a good deal. You know, David could have made a very easy decision that evening and said, right, I just want to take the cash, and literally, no pun intended, and, you know, he goes, and we'd have been, you know, a man down then. You know, the day after we get another injury to a player that can also play at centre-half, so it would have had catastrophic impact, and I think it's a good example of the type of sensible decisions that we're trying to make as a football club moving forwards.
Just, if you allow me to follow up on that, would that have been different then if that deal had presented itself earlier in the summer when you had more time to replace him? Would the circumstances have been different?
Well, I think, listen, Paul, you could come in on this as well. It's fair that we've obviously had to plan for these types of events because there's no secret that, you know, they've been tracking him for a while, and they've been wanting to sign him. However, you know, we don't want to be that football club that sells too cheaply, or if it doesn't meet our valuation or we can't replace properly. So that was really where we got to, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, you don't want to sell any of your best players, but you also have to be realistic that if a Premier League club come knocking, and if they turn the player's head, I'm not saying they spoke to the player, there's a good chance they might have. It's not difficult because Cash is a good kid, but I can understand the difficulty. I think if it would have happened early in the window and all parties were happy, and that's what has to happen with the transfer. It's a bit like selling your house. Like, it doesn't matter what you want for it, it's what someone's prepared to pay for it. I think if all parties would have been happy and it would have been a good... it would have been great to lose Cash in, by the way. I'm not saying that. Please don't take it that way. What I mean is that for the academy to see a player come through, local lad, plays in the first team for a season, gets a move to a Premier League club, it is a good motivator for everybody else. And there's certain players that, as much as you love them, they can't stay here forever. So, in answer to the question, if they'd have reached the valuation significantly earlier in the window, there was a greater chance it could have happened. It's probably my best politically correct answer, since I'm being filmed.
Just to finish off on your point about how that was reinvested, or it would be reinvested, it would. It wouldn't just go, you know, into the running cost of the football club. It'd be used across academy, first team, and the future budgets.
Thank you very much. Next question. I don't know where the microphone's gone at this point. It's over there.
Are you going to sign David McGoldrick or what?
I did warn you.
Good question, good question. No, unfortunately not. In fairness, again, I can only tell exactly as it is, and I appreciate some of you won't believe me. I didn't beg David to stay. I loved him. I was really close to him. I had loads of meetings with him off-season. We met at the training ground on numerous occasions. And in fairness to him, I have to respect it. His decision wasn't made out of finance. It wasn't that I had to throw more money at him or anything like that. He just wants to go back and play for his boyhood club, while in his words he still had legs to do it. It was a massive blow, but I have to respect the fact that, you know, a footballer's made a decision on romance, not on finance. So he'll be sorely missed, but he's doing really well down the road and chats with the lads on most weekends. If we don't win, he lets us know.
Next question. I think there's a few down the front here we'll come to.
Hi, Paul. My name's Jim. I'd like to ask you about two of our young players. I'm amazed by the steps and progress that Tomo's made this year. We've been in Spain with him. We've seen him play in one position. We played in wing-back. Through injuries, he's then moved forward into midfield, and he was a revelation the other day. So getting the chance, that pathway you're on about, this player's now shown how good he is. My next question to that is, Louis Sibley, if he gets his fitness back, he was an absolute revelation earlier in his career, playing in a side a few years ago, playing at a number 10. Can you ever see Louis Sibley being given that chance to actually play in his correct position rather than a false fullback?
Yeah, good question. If he earns the right to play in his proper position, yes. I like Sibs. Did you write to me, by the way?
Pardon?
Did you write to me at the football club?
No.
Oh, I had someone write to me. I thought it was Sibs' dad.
No.
But
not guilty.
This is
Not guilty.
No. This is honestly true, and the letter said the same thing. Like, Sibbs has been suffocated for years here if he played in the right position. In fairness, Sibbs played a lot left back for me last year, and I thought he did well in that team, by the way. Look, I think Sibbs' best position, the first game of the season, which I know I'm going to get ridiculed for, I thought we played well against Wigan. A couple of defensive errors that killed us, but we played with 2 10s and a 9, like a box, which I like. And I think that's Sibbs' best position. So, for example, if we played that system and Sibbs was fit, he has to come and get the jersey. And his performances have to back up week in, week out, week in, week out. So he will definitely get the opportunities. He's trained a few days this week. Hopefully he'll train next week and get through injury-free. He came back from an injury, got an injury on the first day back. So that's put him back. But I think Sibbs will get a chance. But fundamentally, it doesn't matter what their name is on the back of the shirt. I know people have favourite players. But it's about getting the chemistry of the team right, but also the best players play. So Sibbs won't get a chance just because he's been here a few years and come through the academy. I mean this nicely. I'm not trying to come across as a Wally here. But he won't get it through, he deserves a chance. He has to win a chance, really. He has to do it in training day in, day out. He has unbelievable feet, and the 2 pros at the back might tell you he's probably the best finisher in training. So he should get an opportunity. But like Tomo last year didn't do enough for me. I let him go out on loan. Always kept a good relationship with Tomo pre-season. I was saying to him, look, mate, you have to come back in a better physical state to put pressure on the players in front of you, and you have to prove how much you want to play. Or you can go out on loan. Because, in fairness, if you're not going to compete and get in the team and your career somewhere else, that's fine. He was excellent pre-season. He was excellent when he's played in midfield, and we've lost his energy a bit, haven't we? But he's earned that shirt. I didn't give it to him out of charity and go on, Tomo, you deserve a go, and I won't do it with Sibbs. However, if Sibbs earns his shirt and he performs at the level he did at Oxford away last year in that role, then he should be in the team. But it'd be wrong of me to sit here and go, he's definitely going to play. That's up to Sibbs.
How long term is Tomo's injury?
Tomo's is bad. Which is unbelievable because obviously we have all these metrics on all the players and when they're in the danger zone, how hard you train them, how many distance meters they cover. He was probably the fittest player pre-season. He looked the best. It was last Thursday, 2 weeks ago. It was in a training session after the passing drill, the warm-up. He got through unopposed. The ball was sort of under his feet and he shot and he straight away put his hand up, which is never a good sign. You know there's something serious. There was no tackle or anything, but he's torn the top of his quad severely. So I think he's going to be out for another 8 weeks. I mean, you can ask me anything. I'll tell you it straight. That is unfortunately the straight news.
Next question. Wait
for
the microphone.
Hi Paul, my name's Mick.
Hello.
First
Hello,
of all,
Mick.
your karaoke song, cracking song, mate. Secondly, a few weeks ago you said we're not a top 3 team. Where do you think we sit now? And what's your ambition for this season?
I mean, I did say, what game was that? Was it after?
I think you're after the Blackpool game.
Yeah,
weren't
I
you?
was in a bad place there, to be fair. I mean, that was...
when we all...
Yeah. I mean, it's weird. I came out and said, and I'd stand by it, by the way, I never try and sugarcoat news, and I appreciate a lot of you in the room come and watch the team away. And I always got told off a manager once, if you play away from home and you win, or even if you lose, just say the performance was really good because there's not enough people there. I have never done that, by the way, and I never do that. So if I don't think the performance is good, I always try and protect the players individually, but I have to come out and say what I think. So after that, I said we were out-coached, so I'm blaming myself. Out-coached, outrun. We were just horrendous, weren't we? So I was in a dark place there. But what I meant was I didn't think at that moment in time we didn't have a deep enough squad to be in the top 3, and I didn't. I feel when we get the players back, we will be. I do think we've definitely got a top 6 team. I think this team's better than last year's, although it just hasn't hit its rhythm yet. So look, I prefer the system of a 3-5-2. I do like it. Hence why I brought in 2 right wing backs, 1 left wing back. The 2 right wing backs are injured, so then if you play that there, you have something defensively, but not as much. Offensively, not as much defensively. But I just feel like we just need to get a bit of a rhythm. But I do think it's a top 6 team. And I do think there's more character in the dressing room if you get in the top 6 to stay in the top 6. Are we a top 2 team? Currently, no. because fundamentally our home form's been poor. So I just feel like we're just missing a little bit. But I do feel like by the turn of the year, we should definitely be in the top 6. And if we're not, then you can say I said it. But I do think we should be. And I do think we should finish at least in the top 6. So we played, I mean, you should have asked me this outside. I could talk to you for hours on this, right? But we played Wigan. I think we're going to take away their points deduction of the best team. They've got the best forward line in the league. And you can always judge a team with, this is hard to say because one of them's a midfielder over there. But every team you judge by, in my opinion, their front line and their goalkeeper. If the goalkeeper can't save it, you're in trouble. If the front line can't score, you're in trouble. So I think Wigan are the strongest team. We've played Wigan. We've played Blackpool, who are a strong team. Oxford, that I tipped before the start of the season to win the league. We played Peterborough and we played Bolton. I spoke to a manager today and he was saying about how's it going. I was sort of saying, we've had an in and out start. We could have won all 6. We could have lost all 6. We've lost 3 games, 2-1 against very good teams. When I told him the teams we've played, he's like, oh my God, it's like you've played the Champions League already. Whereas other teams have played lesser teams. So our position in the league at the moment isn't where I want it to be. I still think we should have 2 or 3 points more. And I still don't think we're playing at our best. So currently, I still think we should be in the top 6 currently, but at our best, we should be in the top 2. But we're not at our best, unfortunately, and it's my job to try and get us there.
You'll get us there.
Pardon?
You'll get us there.
I hope so, mate. I hope so.
We've got time for 2 more, I think, if we keep responses relatively brief.
Well, if they're not mine, then you've got a chance.
Hi, it's Ranj here. Question for Stephen Pearce. In the summer, you made a strategic decision to put the women's team into the main club. What was the thinking behind that? How's it going? And what's the vision for the future?
Is that a loaded question, right?
Absolutely.
So, look, it's always been a passion of ours as a football club, and it's something that I've been trying to lead on for a number of years. Initially bringing them closer to the football club when we set up Derby County Women's and we set up the Board of Trustees. And I think once David had come in, it was a huge passion of his as well to make sure that the football club is one football club. And as you know, David goes to most of the women's games as well. So for us, it was really, really important that the women are treated as part of the football club, but really as part of the football club, not just as an association. So as you've seen now that they are employed by the football club, we've brought the new, I suppose, operations board, if you can call it that, Ranj, on board. And now moving forward, look, we want to make sure that this is inclusive for all. So that's why with the closure of the pathways that the FA were doing for the women's game, we saw an opportunity. So we've created the female talent pathway from under 9s all the way through to the sort of senior team. So we've got through the community trust there. They're running that as almost an elite pathway for the female talent pathway. And then for the seniors now, fully integrated into the football club, which we are still looking for volunteers on a Sunday. If anybody fancies that, we'll be down there on Sunday for Newcastle.
I said we'd get 2 more in, so let's squeeze in one more question. Where's the microphone? There it is.
Hello, my name's Tim. My question is for Stephen. Obviously, you were in the club during the Mel Morris years that led us to all those things, through the points deductions, the FFP problems, administration. When you look back on that, could you have done more to have avoided the club getting where it was?
I think it's difficult to go back and start commenting in terms of history, and look, we tried to address that at the start. I think the way that you've got to look at it is where we've got to now, and I said, actions are speaking louder than words, and that's why I wanted to wait and do this now. And I think all I'll say is when I touched about the administration to begin with, he said that if the staff hadn't have all pulled together, and the fact that the staff and us were sort of keeping this going on a day-to-day basis, if that hadn't have been the case, as soon as David purchased the club and Clouds Developments purchased the football club, the wheels were turning immediately. So we had everything ready to go, like you've seen, with the season tickets, with the sponsorships, with the player signings, with the rehiring of staff and the rebuild. So I think the actions that we've now done, that was why it was important to leave it to now to show genuinely what we have achieved. I think it's difficult to go into the past again for that.
Unfortunately, ladies and gents, that is all the time we have for this part of the evening. We'll be back in about 15 minutes, but for now, let's have a big thank you. Round of applause, Paul Warne, Stephen Pearce. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We're ready to get started with the second part of the evening. I was going to give this pair the big introduction and walk on, but they've already decided to come sit instead. So let's have a very warm welcome for Martyn Waghorn and Derby captain Conor Hourihane. We have about 40 minutes or so. The floor is open. We have 2 microphones roving this time. So let's see the hands and we'll crack on with any questions you might have for the boys. Get the hands up and the girls will come to you. Remember, start with your name and then ask your question and the guys will answer.
My name is Harry. What is your favourite manager excluding Paul Warne?
You can include Paul if you want.
Harry, how are we doing? Evening, everyone. I think the gaffer's gone now, so let's batter him. I'm only joking. Favourite manager, I suppose, any manager that's played me a lot is first and foremost a favourite manager of mine. Luckily to have, I've had quite a few good ones at that as well. I think the obvious one is probably Dean Smith at Aston Villa when I was there for quite a few years with him. Had a lot of success with him, so that's an easy answer. And in terms of character-wise, I'd Mick McCarthy. I had him with Ireland. Brilliant guy, brilliant man. Really good with the lads. Some really funny stories along the way as well. So it was quite funny to have him as my manager, but he was brilliant as well. So Dean Smith and probably Mick McCarthy, yeah.
Waggy, you've had a little bit of time to think.
Good evening, everyone. To be honest, I would second Conor in terms of Mick McCarthy. I played my best year of football under him at Ipswich. So just something about him, and how he gets the boys going, and a bit like the gaffer, very good with man management and how he manages the team. And like you say, he's got a good banter to go alongside. But I'd probably have to go Roy Keane, controversially first manager for me. Give us my debut at a young age, backed us and believed in us, and give us my chance in football. So I'll always be grateful for that. And the less said, the better about how he goes on in the dressing room. But he's someone like that for me as well. Cheers, guys.
Next question, please. We'll have the hands up. We are going to the back of the room.
Yeah, my name's Carl. I just wondered if the standard of the League One for 2 guys that's played at higher leagues surprised you, how good it is and how physical it is.
It's definitely improved since the last time I've played in it. Obviously, coming here last year and dropping down to League One, I was unsure about how the league was. Obviously, a big attraction to me was obviously the size of this football club. I think one difficult thing about League One, I think, when anyone plays Derby County at Pride Park, it's like their go-to fixture for the season. I think that's really difficult at times. I think being at bigger clubs as well and big clubs before, it's always a big thing when a smaller club comes to a big club and it's like their cup final. And I think that's a big thing for Derby in this league. You know, it's a scalp. Everyone loves coming here. Everyone always tries to play their best here. And that's something that we need to deal with a little bit better. In terms of that, I think that's a big thing for me as a player and as kind of a senior player that the squad needs to handle better. Handling the smaller teams at home can be challenging at times, and I think we need to improve on that.
I thought you answered that superbly, to be honest, mate. Kind of second a lot of that in terms of you get approached and you see the league is what it is, but it wasn't the league it was 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's a lot more competitive now. The players, I feel that since COVID, they've all kind of merged from the Championship to League One to League Two. I think all leagues are getting a bit more competitive. So that side of it on a weekly basis, there's better players, individuals who are posing kind of different challenges on a weekly basis. So for us as Derby County, it's just how we manage our expectations and how we conduct ourselves on a match day. And I think the players that we've got in the dressing room and the managers that we've got, the facilities, everything we've got, if we do everything right, there should be no reason why we shouldn't be winning week in, week out. But that doesn't take away the fact that there is big clubs around us, and we need to be ready for that challenge. But yeah, it's a lot different from what it was, and the challenges are there, they're real. And like you say, you could play Bolton away on weekend, and you can have a Cheltenham away the next. Is a completely different kind of task. I think kind of getting ready for the two opposing styles of play, and that's probably the biggest factor taken into consideration. But it's a lot more competitive. It's not easy. It's not as what it once was. So we need to be ready for the challenge on a weekly basis.
Thank you very much for the question. And next one, I assume we're going to go this side, this side, this side, but we'll see where the microphone gets to. Over here.
Hi, so my name's Joe. This is like for both of you. First of all, what are your opinions on Forest? And what are like your goals for the season?
I'll go. I've got the mic. Forest.
Say it.
Yeah. Nah. Listen, everyone's got rivalries and whatever, and the way they are, the way they've progressed the last couple of years, in a footballing aspect, like I say, being brutally honest, they've done well to get up, they've done well to stay there, they've invested heavily, they've spent a lot of money. Wish they went down, not going to beat around the bush. But as a footballing fan across the board and seeing where they are, it's not great as a Derby fan, but they've done well on the football side of things. But our ambitions have got to be, first and foremost, get promoted, get out of this league. Speaking for myself and everyone else at Derby County, we're a big club in this league. I've come here to get promoted, to give everything to the club, whatever role that may be, to help the team, to play, to win. I'm here to get promoted, and that's first and foremost in everybody's minds at this club.
Yeah, for me, going back to the previous question, I probably, if I'm being brutally honest, I had Steve Cooper at Swansea, and he was a brilliant manager. Actually, I forgot about him. So that's one thing I want to say about Forest. But look, I think speaking on what Wag said as well. Look, they've obviously got promoted from the Championship. It's not an easy thing to do. They've spent a lot of money. They're probably at a different, a lot different place than what we are as a club at the minute. But it's something that we have to strive to do, first and foremost. Like I said, going back to what Waggy said, the ambition is to get out in the league, out of this league, hopefully this year. That's the plan. I think the demands are there from everyone at the football club, fans, players, staff at the training ground, everyone, staff at the, in the offices here. Everyone wants to get out of the league first and foremost, and get back into the Championship, and take strides from there. So, I think we got a good group in the dressing room at the minute, and hopefully, as the performances hopefully get better throughout the course of the season, we'll take that first big step, to get to the next stage and into the Championship, because that's what ultimately everyone wants to do.
Thank you very much. Next question.
You're right there, lads. I can relate this question to both of you, really. First, Conor, obviously this is your second season as a Derby player. Has anything changed for you this season, personally, from a personal level, because you're the skipper this season? Do you feel any sort of added expectation or pressure wearing the armband? And Waggy, this is your second stint at Derby. Do you feel any added pressure this season? Because obviously losing McGoldrick was huge for us, and maybe the fans will be relying on you, especially with that performance you're putting against Peterborough with the hat-trick. Do you feel any sort of added pressure now, because there might be a bit more expectation on your shoulders?
Waggy's got a minute to stew on
Yeah,
that before the mic gets
It was a long question, so I got a few seconds as well. I think when I've obviously been, this is the start of my second season here now, and first and foremost, I've absolutely loved being here. One of the big reasons of why I wanted to come here was the club was on the floor a little bit. and I was at the stage of my career at 31. I was like, I really want to be a part of something and a rebuild and put my stamp on things. So from the time when I signed over a year ago now to what the club looks like now, it's definitely a lot different, for sure. I know it's been touched with Stephen and the manager previously. There's been a lot of work done behind the scenes to rebuild the club. So when I first came, it was a fragile club. Now it's a well-structured club, and I will continue to do that. So from that point of view, that's definitely changed. In terms of the armband, I suppose, look from the outside, it looks like there may be a little bit more pressure on me, but I don't put that pressure on myself. I think last year, a big massive thing for me is, standards, leadership in my own type of way, setting standards in the dressing room, professionalisms every day, timekeeping, stuff like that to get the group of lads in check. So they're things that I was big on last year, and nothing changes this year. It's still the same, and I think that's probably one of the big reasons why the lads voted for me, I would say, because I'm huge on that. And to achieve anything as a group, you have to have standards, you have to have professionalism, you have to have that, drive every single day in training to achieve anything. So I suppose you, as fans, see an armband on a Saturday, but that's only a little bit that everyone sees. It's huge behind the scenes for me, to set the tone and to set the standards throughout the group. And I hope then that rubbishes on the rest of the lads, really.
To follow up on that, you only got voted to skip because he organises the best Christmas do, to be honest. So that's one of the main reasons. Yeah, I was on, yeah. I done the silent vote then. No, to answer your question, yeah, there's obviously added pressure. I know Didsy personally from my time at Ipswich. I know how good he is. I know what he brings on and off the pitch, and how big an influential character he is. But pressure is it's a funny word, and I put a lot of pressure on myself every day, and like I say, it's just standards in training. I want to be the best trainer. I want to score the most goals in training. I want to be the winner. I don't want to lose a tenner because he's the fine keeper as well. So I don't want to lose any kind of game. So pressure, yeah, it's a funny word in terms of what you put on yourself. But I think we're in this industry because we all thrive on it. We don't want to be here to be losers. We want to win. And the biggest occasions, that's where your biggest players have got to step up, and if that's me, great, but we're all in there together. There's 11 players, there's 7 subs, there's a manager, there's staff. We all here to win, and listen, if I can contribute any way, shape or form I can, scoring goals, assisting, just being a part of the team that's successful, that's what I'm here for. And to be here second time round, it's a lot different. I'm a different person, I'm a different player. I've grown up a bit, I know who I am as a person, and I know how much this means to everyone in this room, the club, the people, and I'm just wanting here to get you to give me best week in, week out, and hopefully I have the same end goal, which is getting out this league and getting the club back to where it belongs.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go toward the back of the room over there for this one.
Hi, my name's Richard. I'm over here. I'll stand up. Hang on. Conor, this is for you, really. Last season, we were in such a comfortable position. What do you think actually went wrong that meant we didn't finish in the top 6? And most importantly, what do you think is different this season that means we will finish at least in the top 6?
I think over the course of the Christmas period, I think the gaffers kind of touched on it before. I think we were flying. It looked like there was kind of no stopping us mentality. And I thought that as well, if I'm being totally honest with you. And I don't think over the course of the season we had too much of a dip in form. But I think we got a bad patch of form at a really bad time, if I'm being totally honest with you. Nobody obviously wanted that. We went on a bad little run towards the key part of the season. Why is that? I'm not too sure, if I'm being totally honest with you. Did we get a little bit too, there was a small squad. Did we get a little bit leggy? Did we get, a little bit fatigued or whatever it may be? And I think that was a big factor, and we didn't shake that off enough towards the end of the season to get over the line, which is a huge disappointment, of course. And in terms of this season, I think we got a bigger squad, and I think we got a stronger squad. I think we were very reliant on a Didsy last year to fire the goals in for us. I think this year, with the likes of Wags and more strikers, more wingers, more central midfielders, there's going to be an onus on more goals and more kind of a winning contribution from a lot more people around the pitch. So in terms of the actual squad, I feel like right now we've got a more in-depth squad than we do last year, and hopefully that will get us to where we want to really over the course of the season.
Thank you very much. We'll look to this side of the room. Microphone is there.
Martyn, my name's Steve Maskery. I want to ask you, can you reproduce the same as David McGoldrick last season for Derby County?
A lot of David McGoldrick questions tonight.
Yeah, yeah, why not? I mean, my job
Your
is
game against Peterborough, you ran the game. We'd like to see that week in, week out, if we can.
So would I. But no, there's moments in games when you feel good, and listen, it was nice to get the hat-trick. I'm not going to beat on the bush, but it was just one of them spells. I felt like anybody could have scored at any minute. We're just in a good flow and kind of took the game away from Peterborough. But yeah, it was nice for me to get the hat-trick, but like I say, anybody could have scored any given time. It just felt right, but if I could score goals, great. But like I say, my job is to help the team win at the end of the day, and that's all that matters really this season. But yes, goals would be lovely.
Let's go this side of the room. I think we're over there for the next question.
Hello, Sarah. Can I just say, you are not a consolation prize for Dids. You are a powerhouse of a player, and we're glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
I don't know how we got you for a steal, but I'm thrilled that you're back. I'm absolutely delighted because it's clear that you love the club, and it's clear that you put everything out there on the pitch. It's clear that you've got a lot to offer, and you stay on side, which is incredible. And I don't have a question, I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Next question, we'll go somewhere over this side. Front row, I think.
Oh yeah. My question is: do either of you have any like interesting or weird superstitions or routine on match day?
I'm glad he said superstitions there. Waggy, do you want to go first?
To be honest, so boring. No, I wake up, have me scran, and then just get ready for a tear about. just to get my footy in at the end of the day, just get myself ready, see the kids, and then off a pop, have a game of footy.
Is it the same scran every time?
Same scran every time, but again, it's just eggs in it. Like, no fancy dishing out, it's just eggs on toast, and then brilliant.
I hope you have a more interesting answer.
I think, I don't have a mad superstitions, but I'm a bit of a neat freak, like an OCD mad. If someone messes with my gear before the match, it kind of wrecks up my head a little bit, if I'm being honest. James Collins is big on that. He'll mess with something or he'll say something, and I'm like, oh, fuck, don't let everyone else kind of in on the joke, because now they're all going to mess with my stuff. When I was at Sheffield United...
This is going out in full tomorrow night.
I know. When I was at Sheffield United, quick story, Didzy was actually involved in this, so I'm just going to tell you. I'm not saying it was Didzy's fault, but he was involved in it, so yeah, Didzy again. But we were playing Millwall at home early on in the season. It was actually my home debut for Sheffield United, and the lads were getting to know me a little bit. And Didzy, I had Didzy at Ireland, so I know Didzy a long time, and it's better than Mikey. But yeah, so I went to the toilet, and I always have like t-shirt, jumper, rain jacket, shorts, like everything's immaculate in check. And the lads spread my gear around the whole changing room, and it messed with my head a little bit. I got taken off after half an hour. And Didzy and Ollie McBurney was involved in it. They took the mick out of me for quite a few weeks, and it was just a horrible home debut, half an hour. Didn't go down well. So so to answer your question, a bit of a neat freak, bit of an OCD. Everything needs to be check-in clean. I think some of the fans have asked me, why do I continuously wear a rain jacket in about 30 degrees heat? It's because I like to keep everything in check in OCD. So yeah, there you go.
Very good answer. Good question. Let's go to our next one. I think we're going to go this side of the room. If we could try to limit the mentions of David McGoldrick for the rest of the night, I think Waggy at least would appreciate that. The microphone is on the way. There it is.
Hey guys, my name's Matthew. I just sort of wanted to ask, mainly for Conor, but I'm sure Martyn will have his own opinions on this. Now that you're at Derby, how do you look back on that playoff final for Aston Villa? Specifically, anything maybe behind the scenes, like, did you want to play us? Was there anything, did you ever feel nervous at all in the game or anything like that?
I will look back on it as with massive joy, if I'm being honest with you. I'm going to be brutally honest.
Expected.
In that game in general, I suppose, the year before we got beat off Fulham, Villa, so the heartache of the year before was something that we all wanted to overturn. So to play when we were playing Derby, going into it, it was just like, I can't go through that heartache again, kind of thing, and that kind of drove us over the line. We were, a lot of the players were the same. We got so close the previous year, and we were just desperate to go over the line because to lose 2 playoff finals in a row would have been real heartache. So. Looking back at it on an amazing moment in my career, and now to flip it on its head and to be at Derby now, it's amazing. And like I said, I know what such a big club it is, and I know what it means to the fans. Seeing that day there, you come out in your numbers. It was a full house, amazing day. I know it would be the same thing if we got to Wembley as a club or we got up automatically or whatever. So, I'm not getting any younger. So to achieve a promotion with Derby would be, an amazing kind of thing to do coming to the latter end of my career. So, I'm striving every single day to try and achieve that.
Sort of feels cruel to ask Waggy about that. Yeah, let's go to our next question, shall we? Instead, good question though. We'll go. I think front. Where are we going? We're going this way. Where are we going? We'll go front row again. Go on.
All right. I just wanted to know, what formation would you say brings the best quality as a player that you can bring to the team?
In terms of us now?
Yeah.
I suppose my role as a central midfielder doesn't change too much in terms of the formations that we play at the minute. We always kind of play with 2 6s in and around the middle of the park, and that's where I've played probably 90% of my games for Derby since I've been here. So in terms of that kind of role, my role in general as an individual hasn't really changed that much. Out with the 2 6s, I like to be the one that's a little bit more in and around the edge of the box, so I can cross the ball, I can get a couple of shots off, because I've always managed to nick a goal or an assist over the course of my career. So in terms of my individual role, whatever we play, we always kind of play with 2 6s, and I'm usually one of the 6s in there getting forward a little bit more. So I think my job is pretty similar over the course of me playing for Derby, really.
To be honest, I think it kind of all depends on the team you're playing. A lot of work goes in behind the scenes to kind of assess where the opposition is weaker, so we kind of build a team on that. Like you say, it'd be nice to have a set formation, set structure where everything works fantastically well, but it doesn't always work out like that. But you just kind of take it on a day-by-day basis, like what the manager said. You've got to earn your name on the team sheet as well. So a lot of variables go into a match day squad, but anywhere where I'm not out in the wing really would be perfect. So selfishly, but no, it's just kind of on a day-to-day basis how we kind of address things and what works best for the team going into a Saturday. So for us, I think as many bodies forward in the box is optimal because there's going to be opportunities to score goals. So yeah, it would be nice to kind of be in a more attacking front foot team, which I think we're getting there. So keep building on that. Like you say, the gaffer has mentioned previously about we're not the finished article. There's been times where we've looked really good and times where we've looked open at times, but stuff that we're getting sorted, we're addressing, and hopefully you can kind of continue to flourish and keep getting better as the season goes on.
Next question. Keep the hands coming up.
Question for Waggy. Is Craig Forsyth your agent?
Great question. He's took a cut of my salary, I think. No, do you know what? I've known obviously Fozzie for a long time now, and I've got a lot to thank him for that testimonial. He's dragged the arse out of it a bit now, and but no, yeah, I've got a lot to thank him for. But nah, he's definitely not my agent, but he's done very well for us. So thanks, Fozzie.
Good to have you back.
I'll just add a little bit of detail to the story. So when the players were away in Spain, you came into the training ground, didn't you? And we saw you using the sports hall to stay in shape and that sort of thing. And we had a
I
conversation.
seen Kane Wilson get signed, didn't I? First
Yeah,
day,
that's true. Yeah,
behind the scenes,
and, but we had a conversation. I remember we had a conversation about the offers that you had, and you were waiting for things. And presumably Derby at that point weren't on the radar at all, were they?
No, like to be honest, I had this conversation with the gaffer, and he wasn't interested at all, to be honest. And I was a little bit annoyed that it wasn't like kind of materialising. I'm thinking, I live around the corner. Come on, like it's perfect. It's perfect. So no, it was just then. Obviously, the boys went away, and I was running around. Was it Ayers Meadow cricket pitch? And I got to the point where I think it got like school finished, and a few kids were kicking about on the pitch. I ended up playing five-a-side with some kids on the footy pitch. I'm thinking, something's got to change. Yeah, like I can't be doing this for 6 weeks. So I got in touch with the club, and thankfully they let us use the facilities for a few weeks, and thankfully it kind of materialised from there. And yeah, it was a funny old summer.
Absolutely was. Let's go to our next question. We're just over there, I think.
Hi guys. Name's Shamir. Firstly to Conor, how easy or what were the challenges going from Liam Rosenior's sort of obviously style of football, completely different, obviously going to the style with Paul Warne and Waggy in your previous clubs? Have you been in a position where it's just been obviously really challenging and the lads have struggled on those lines? Yeah.
Yeah, I think when a new manager comes in from Rosenior to Paul, obviously, every manager's got their different ways. I think as a player, it's important to adapt. If you don't adapt to every manager that comes through the door, then you're going to struggle. So if you want a long career in the game, you need to be able to adapt to different styles. And I think that's down to the individual. You need to take information on board. Rosie obviously played in a certain way. Paul plays in a certain way. Paul's had huge success in this league, especially playing his type of way. So, we all know the experience that he's got to getting Rotherham out of this league. The aim is to obviously get Derby out of the league as well. So, the big thing is that you've got to adapt to the man in charge. If you don't, then you simply don't play. So, I think that was a big thing between Rosenior and Paul, and it's the same at any other football club. And I think the big answer to the question really is, as a player, you got to adapt, or else simply you won't play.
Yeah, well, in terms of my question, I was here for 3 years at Derby before it all went kind of Pete Tong on us. So that was a mental period of time. Obviously going from Frank to Philip to Wazza. And then I was just kind of sad because of the size of the club and everything it was going through. And like you say, the way we finished the season, in my last game of the season for the club, it was really difficult because we had such a tough year, and to end on such a high, then to see the club what I went through was really difficult. But in terms of what Conor said, it's so important that you just get on board early doors with whoever's in charge. They're in charge. They pick the team. They run the club. And as athletes and as professionals, we've got to buy into it, and that's our job. That's what we're here to do. And whatever structure, formation, style of play it may be, we're here to do a job, and the job is to listen to the manager and his instructions. And we've been here for a long time now, me and Conor, in terms of football. And I think the way the game's going, it's changing. The speed's changing, the style of plays, and I like to think that we've done all right in terms of listening and getting on board with it. Because if not, you'll probably have a short career. And then young kids out there, it's important to be adaptable and understanding the game and growing. And like you say, taking in the environment and what the club is, what the city is, what the people are like. And I think if you get on board with that early doors, you'll always stand half a chance, and you'll understand what it means to play for a big club.
Next question. We'll get the microphone over to someone.
This is for both of you. What's your favourite moment for the club's limbs-wise?
At Derby, obviously. I think it's been touched on already. Port Vale was a massive one. I think the night that was in it was a horrendous. I don't know if you can remember it. You might have been in bed at the time because it was a nighttime game, but it was a horrendous pitch. It was pouring down with rain. I think there was about 4,000 or 5,000 Derby fans behind the goal that we scored both goals in. It wasn't the prettiest of games, and just the way the game ended was just unbelievable. So I think last year that's the big standout moment personally, and I think this year Peterborough away was probably our best performance. You know, the goals that we scored in that kind of 25-minute period of time. Waggy scoring a hat-trick. Not being mentioned yet tonight. Was amazing, and we kind of blew Peterborough out of the water in 25 minutes. So in terms of last year and this year, they're the two fixtures really at the minute. But hopefully over the course of this year, we'll be able to match and have better limbs, as the young people say nowadays, a bit more over the course of the season.
Yeah, cheers. For me, it's got to be Leeds away in the second leg of the semi-final. I do feel like I missed a good one though, Port Vale away. I missed that one, yeah. But no, obviously just kind of everything that went on that year, with everything that obviously was well documented, but just the way we came back from the kind of the adversity, the way we lost earlier in the season, we were really poor there early in the year, and to be a fan that night in the stands, obviously being half injured, half steaming, was brilliant. Yeah.
Love the honesty. I love the honesty. Right, next one.
Hi, Jim again. You two players, seasoned pros, all we ever seem to talk about after every game is quality of refereeing in this division. To Conor as captain and to Waggy, do you see a real big difference, or is it just a perception that they're just not very good?
No, I think your perception is pretty accurate, to be honest. No, look, I think it's not. Look, it's not an easy job for referees. It definitely isn't. You know, they don't get every decision right, and obviously there's a lot of arguments and whatnot. But in terms of being involved with the captaincy this year, it's a real frustrating year this year, I think, for players to approach the referees in terms of talking about decisions and just having a one-on-one conversation in the heat of the moment, or the heat of battle. You want an answer and you just get yellow carded for it now, which is really frustrating. And I think over the course of these few games, we've seen a huge jump in yellow cards, and we've been talked to a lot about discipline this year, because over the course of the season, if you get 5 yellows, 10 yellows, you obviously get suspended. So there's a real frustration from that point of view that you don't be able to get that one-on-one chat on the pitch anymore. It's kind of like a standoffish approach, which I think isn't great. But yeah, look, like I said, to be nice to them at times, it's hard for them to get every decision right, but I do feel like over the course of League One, the refereeing standard is poor, if I'm being honest, and that's just speaking from being involved in other leagues as well. I do feel like the standard can be better, and however we can make it better, or however the referee league or whatever can make it better, I do feel like it's important, because these big decisions are big to every football club. 3 points on a Saturday, we might have come away with a point against Bolton, or 3 points, who would have known, and come the end of the season, that might be massive for us, so I do feel like them getting the decisions right as much as possible is huge for every club, and I do think that needs to get a little bit better.
Anything to add, Waggy, or no? Next question. Let the captain speak for you on that one. Next question, I think we've got some at the back. Where are we going? One there.
This is probably more for Conor, but maybe Waggy can put it as a striker. But as a midfielder and a captain, I know that for strikers it's important that they can only score the better the service they're getting. So what can you do, or have you done as a captain and a central midfielder, that can encourage the other midfielders to provide that top quality service to ultimately get us the goals?
Yeah, I think we do it okay at times, and I think we can be better at it at times as well. I feel like we've got a big pool of centre midfielders now that need to contribute more in terms of goals, assists, putting chances in the box for people like Wags. The obvious one is we all did it great against Peterborough, and the obvious one maybe we didn't do it great against Bolton, you know what I mean? Because every game we try and do it, but ultimately, you don't play to your best every single game. I I think it's big now in terms of our wingers as well, in terms of Mendes, Tom Barcuse, and Sibbs has been mentioned already tonight. JJ, John Jules, obviously, is looking really good in training at the minute as well. So I think in terms of the midfield unit, wingers, providing for the forwards now, that needs to get better because ultimately, goals win games. So, yeah, hopefully over the course of the work we've done over these last couple of weeks, we've been working a lot on that. Our goal return can be better because I think, the 4-1 against Peterborough is not going to happen every week. So, the ones and the twos in games need to be more consistent, and hopefully that will be the case leading into the games now after the international break.
Any comment on the standard of service, Waggy, from the captain?
No, on the flip side, obviously, it's down to us as strikers to move for the midfield as well. So them having the ball and us demanding it in the perfect penalty spot, just a little tap in. But we've got to run, we've got to make angles, we've got to show for them. Like, our work off the ball is also just as important for them on it as well. So it's not just a collective, can the midfielders do more? It's up to me, Colo, Washi, whoever gets the opportunity to kind of create space for these boys as well, because it's obviously be nice if Skip scored a few more as well. So.
Second top goal scorer at the minute,
Any more questions? I think there's still a couple of hands around. One here as well, a couple around there. Mike's on the way this side.
It's John. Who would you both say are the best player you've played with and the best squad you've played in?
Best player... It's tough, this. Obviously, the obvious one is Jack Grealish. Speaks for himself in terms of what he's gone on to do in his career. Unbelievable ability, something that I've probably never seen before. In terms of his ability, just technical ability on the ball. He's got that unbelievable knack of dribbling with the ball quicker than he actually runs normally. It's just an unbelievable skill. No, honestly, in a serious note, it's an unbelievable skill. The way he drifts past the player and you think you have him at one stage and he just keeps going and going quicker and quicker with the ball. It's an amazing thing. And to see how he's developed and gone on to do what he's done against Man City is amazing. And the other person I feel like I want to mention is John Terry. I was very, very fortunate to play with him for a year at Aston Villa. And his brain as a footballer was something I've never seen before. Unbelievable brain. His passing with both feet, how he defended. And this is when he was probably about 36 as well. So to think what he was at 27 or 28 was probably frightening. So they'd probably be the two obvious ones. But it was a privilege as well to be able to play with both of them. To see them up close and how they both work was amazing. And that squad then, like you said, with Jack and John and them kind of players, every single day was amazing to be a part of for 3 or 4 years.
Tough to follow that, isn't it? Yeah. I'll probably start off by going someone who I played with at Rangers coming towards the end of his career was Nico Crenshaw. I know might be a bit of a strange one, but his ability on the ball, both feet, obviously he didn't move as well as what he once did, but his knowledge, the way he saw the game, as an attacking midfielder, his pass, like little things like pass appreciation, his standards, all that kind of what he brought to a training pitch, and what he done for me as a striker was second to none, and I kind of appreciated kind of everything that he'd done and taught us and spoke to us about, and kind of his experience for me at a different stage of my career was superb. And I'll go to someone obviously quite recent and with Derby related, obviously Mounty. I know he's very young, but I don't think I've ever seen somebody so young but understand the game of football so well in terms of positional sense, awareness, being able to take the ball in kind of any kind of situation. The trust you could have in what is it, 18, 19-year-old to give him the ball at that level to kind of win games and tear defences apart with his ability to run off the ball with knowledge, like kind of the right pass, the right weight, was unbelievable. And it obviously makes sense to see where he's gone on to what he's done now. And just to follow up on the team, I would probably say in terms of camaraderie, the year I was at Ipswich before I came to Derby, we had everything. We had a small knit squad, kind of what I think you need to kind of get out of this league. You need a lot of bodies, but a team that you're going to go fight with day in, day out. That was kind of what we had, and that's what Mick McCarthy brought to the table. And I was very lucky to play in that, and it gave us a real confidence to go on a Saturday. And like you say, sometimes you might need to have a tear up, you might need to just grind it out for 90 minutes, but he just give us the freedom to kind of play the game that we saw it, which was good.
We'll do 2 more questions. Where are our microphones? We're staying over this side.
Just wanted your opinion on the atmosphere here, because you've both played here when it's been bouncing. You've both played here when it's been a bit hostile as well. And obviously, Waggy, you've played here when no one's been here. Just wanted your opinion on what it's like, what impact it has as well.
First and foremost, I think the atmosphere in terms of, I want to touch on the away fans as well, actually, in terms of home and away have been amazing. You know, to sell out every away game and near on every home game is some credit to you all. So first and foremost, I think that's amazing. I think the atmosphere at home is really good, if I'm being honest with you. I can't really say that it's been hostile or anything like that. I think at times we've deserved a little bit of a kick up the backside and a little bit of a boo. Sometimes lads deserve that. Obviously, it's not nice when it comes, but it's part of the job. It's part of being a professional footballer. But I do think that the home crowd give us a real good boost at the right times as well, especially kicking down this end. It's amazing. I think you nearly kind of suck the ball into the net, really, at times. No, honestly, it's really, really good. And then it speaks for itself when we're winning at home. It's inevitable that you're all going to be on your best voices, on you know, singing and chanting. So overall, I can't fault you at all. And like I said, I won't complain here at all for the odd boo and that stuff, because that's part of football. We deserve it at times. You know, it's not nice when it comes, but it's, like I said, you got to be professional enough and man enough and show that character and that mentality to be able to deal with that. So I don't think too much can change, really. Just keep on top of, you know, you singing and chanting and driving the lads on constantly, because it is a big help. You know, the volume of fans here is absolutely amazing, so it can be a big help for us, for sure.
Yeah, I second that, to be honest. Obviously, I played here for different kind of environments and managers and styles, and when it's going great, it's obviously great, but I second what Conor says. Sometimes we deserve it. There's been times when, obviously, our first time round and the performances aren't quite at it for a club this size, and that's down to us on an individual basis. Don't get us wrong, nobody goes out there to play poor. It's one of those things, and I always think that no matter what you can do, you can always run around, you can always give 100%, and I think that's the bare minimum that this club requires, and I like to think we all kind of do that, and it's part and parcel of the game. We're paid to do this job, and if you fans aren't happy, you're more than well within your rights to kind of to show that, and there's been times where it's been more than deserved, so it's part and parcel. We get on with it, we understand it. It's obviously not nice as an individual. I've been on the end of it sometimes, and it's just life. We're in this job to grow, to develop, and yeah, it just is what it is. But to second that, the away fans as well, the support through thick and thin, it's been incredible. And like you say, it's the performances we're putting for you guys as much as us on a Saturday.
Let's do one final question.
Okay, so like, I don't know how to say, but like, how are you planning to cope under like the pressure of high pressing teams like Portsmouth and Blackpool and Wigan like away later on in the season?
Oh, what? Sorry.
How are you like planning to defend against high pressing teams and like just really good attacking teams like Portsmouth and Blackpool, Wigan, etc. like later on in the season?
I think it's. I suppose we haven't looked too far ahead yet. I think obviously we're dealing with the game on Saturday rather than later on in the season at the minute. But look, we'll have done our homework on every single team. The manager, the staff will. They'll have put a plan together that obviously we need to stick to as players. Whether that is, you know, play through the middle, go out wide, put crosses in the box, whatever it may be. Every team's different, so it won't be the same plan for every single team. So yeah, it's down to us as players to follow the plan that the manager and the coaching staff put out for us, because that's ultimately what they feel is best to get the 3 points at the weekend.
Anything to add, Waggy? Final word? That is it then, gents. Let's have a big round of applause for Martyn Waghorn and Conor Hourihane. Ladies and gents, that is all from the evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to watch it back, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to aim to put it up. The team at the back are nodding that it will be... Yes, everyone look at the team at the back again because they really enjoy it. We are aiming to put it up tomorrow evening, so it will be available to watch back. Thank you very much for coming. Safe journey home. Let's hear it one more time for the guys. Thank you very much indeed.